This will be first call for Class 2 breeding sheep. First call, Class 2 breeding sheep. That will be the aged ewes. This will be second call for Class 2 breeding sheep. Second call, Class 2 breeding sheep. Please make your way to the show ring.
Awful good pair here as we get started with our breeding sheep show. I think one on the front end just comes to me a little bit better in terms of her neck extension up ahead of her shoulder, her shallowness right between her front legs and her chest floor. And then I think she couples that with a more attractive hip and rear leg in motion and a little firmer touch. When we put our hands on them, I think that one's just a little bit leaner, a little bit more crisp in terms of her shape and her expression of muscle. A very nice sheep there to go ahead and start. She's a little forward in her knee. She's a little forward in her whole front skeleton. And I think the 1 and 2 probably has that advantage of being just a little more relaxed in the front third of her skeleton. And I like that about her. I think she also comes a little more relaxed in her top line, which doesn't help her in terms of balance from the side. We have to keep her loin up in her just a little bit more, and she's not quite as long-necked relative to our class winner. We get in behind this sheep, and I like that one's pin set a bit better. I like how much extra shape and expression she has down low into her leg than the one right in front of her. But those are just the little bit of differences I see in an awful good pair. Congratulations to both these young ladies.
This will be third and last call for Class 2 breeding sheep. Results of Class 1 breeding sheep. First place or second place goes to Megan Hernandez from Buda 4-H Club. Your class winner, Morgan Hernandez from Buda 4-H Club. Congratulations. Got that paper that write down champion. Our grand champion breeding ewe belt buckle today is sponsored by Sunset Construction and Excavation. We certainly appreciate them putting forth the effort to help these young people here in Hays County. Our reserve champion breeding ewe buckle, donated by Lindsay Wright. We thank Lindsay for her support. We still have a small silver ring up here at the announcer's stand. Please check if you're missing a small silver ring. Please come up here and we will return it to you.
An interesting trio of them here. I think the young man's ewe up front, she's obviously a little more moderate in terms of her type and kind, but I think that honestly works to her advantage out here because she comes with so much more width and so much more density all the way through. Really good in terms of her shape down the top side of her skeleton, really big out of her pin set. We need to relax her spine and relax her just a little bit in motion, and other than that, I think that's a nice place to start. 2 and 3, just kind of some give and take. I thought the young lady's bigger ewe here was so level down her top line and comfortable and loose in her lower joints. She collects herself just a little bit better from the profile to me. And then we put our hands on them, and she's still bigger over a loin edge than the one that comes next in the lineup. Young lady sheep is third here, really big and rugged at the ground. That sheep has some good parts and pieces. She's good about her neck attachment. She's good in how she lays her shoulder on. She's got to have a little more width when we step right in behind them. And I thought here from the side, we wanted her to be just a little bit smoother in her hip loin. But a good sheep, a good class there. Congratulate those exhibitors.
Results of Class 2 breeding ewes. Third place, Caden Garcia. Second place, Caden Garcia. And your class winner, Nicandro Quintanilla from San Marcos FFA. Caden Garcia was from Buda 4-H. We will now have the champion breeding ewe drive. We will have Morgan Hernandez winning Class 1. Megan Hernandez, second place in Class 1. We will have Nicandro Quintanilla representing Class 2, and Caden Garcia representing Class 2. This will be first call Class 1 Southdowns. First call, Class 1 Southdowns. Once again, our grand champion breeding sheep buckle is donated by Sunset Construction and Excavation, and reserve champion breeding lamb was sponsored by Lindsay Wright.
Not a big group of them in terms of just how many head we had, but I think our quality is still very good in the breeding sheep show here. The two out of our first class definitely fit together a little bit better in terms of type and kind. I think those sheep are similar. One on the front side that comes with more neck and extension, maybe not quite as big ended as the young lady's ewe that was second to her, but a good pair there that are both really stout, really handle incredibly well. Young man's older ewe here that won that second class, she's just a little more moderate in her type and kind. We want to make her a little bigger and more extended. I'd like to relax her there in terms of her top line. Young lady's second place over there, she is the opposite. She is so long-bodied and so level and good in that regard. Just want to give her a little bit more to her relative to her frame, just in terms of some width. But a good group of them. I like these two out of this first class. Please congratulate these young ladies.
Your champion breeding ewe goes to Morgan Hernandez out of Class 1. Reserve champion breeding ewe goes to Megan Hernandez out of Class 1 also. That concludes our breeding sheep show. This will be second call, Class 1 Southdowns. Second call, Class 1 Southdowns. Will be third and final call for Class 1 Southdowns. Third and final call for Class 1 Southdowns. This will be first call for Class 2 Southdowns. First call, Class 2 Southdowns. This will be second call, Class 2 Southdowns. Second call, Class 2 Southdowns.
Really a nice set of them here in our lightweight Southdowns. I think 4 nice sheep, and albeit they got some differences, we sure got a nice one up on the top end to go ahead and start. He's the best up front. He's the best when we get behind him. I like that sheep in motion, and we put our hands on him, and he's still the biggest and widest and most dimensional right over his loin edge. I think if we're being picky, we could shape him up a little more right over his rack, right behind his shoulder, make him handle just a bit more aggressive in that regard. But the rest of that sheep, I think, fits together really nicely. The one that comes in too, I think balances and proportions the next best. I like his extra depth through his flank, and I think that helps his underline balance a bit better. His top line collects itself quite well. I wish his hide specifically was a little bit fresher today. He's not quite as good to the touch as the one in front of him or the one right behind him. So I just want to freshen up his hide and his handling quality a little bit. We get him behind that sheep. He's just not quite as wide all the way through as what we see in our class winner. The one that comes in 3 has good parts and pieces. I love that used chest width. I like her body shape. We get in behind her, and she's big and opened up and very dimensional when you put your hands on her. When we balance on the side view, she's just not quite as proportional. She comes a little coarser at the point of her shoulder, a little steeper out of her hip. She needs a shot more flank to help her balance just a little bit better than those first 2, but a good sheep with a lot of width and a lot of real shape. Young ladies wether that rounds out our top 4. He's extra big in terms of his loin edge. We put our hands on him and we appreciate those things. But as we go to the ground, he just wants to taper a little bit too much down to the base of his skeleton. He hit me a little flatter in his forerib. We need to make that sheep just a little leveler and more attractive when he's moving. But a good group of them there. Congratulations to all those exhibitors.
This will be third and final call, Class 2 Southdowns. Third and final call, Class 2 Southdowns. First call for Class 3 Southdowns. First call, Class 3 Southdowns. Class 2 Southdowns has 3 entries, ranging in weight from 133 to 146. Results of Class 1 Southdowns. Fourth place, Isabella Dyer, Dripping Springs FFA. Third place, Sybil Shumway, Dripping Springs 4-H. Second place, Ernest Brown, Dripping Springs FFA. And your class winner from Buda 4-H, Morgan Hernandez. Oh, this will be second call, Class 3 Southdowns. Second call, Class 3 Southdowns.
A good trio here. I think a close pair up front. And honestly, I prefer the back half of the young man's wether that wins and the front half of the young lady's ewe that comes in too. And so it boils down to me is I thought the young man's class winner just touched a little bit better. I thought his expression right behind his shoulder, his forerib touches a little leaner, and I think he's more compositionally where I'd like to see him. We get him in motion, and I like the hip and the set to his rear leg and how he uses it just a little better than what I see in the young lady's ewe lamb. Comparatively, and when we're stopped standing still, he's just not quite as tall fronted and not quite as extended through the front third of his body. That is her advantage for sure. I love that one's neck attachment, the top side of her shoulder. She's so incredibly long from there back as well. Maybe not quite as perfectly level, and I think she's just easy in her top line because she's good built and she's functional at the ground. But relative to our class winner, I wanted to see her a little bit more massive out of her pin set. I wish she had a bit more twist when we step in behind her, and I didn't think she handled just quite as aggressive in terms of her back shape. The one that comes in 3 is still good in terms of type and kind. I like that sheep's width, and I like his body depth and density. I wish he, too, just handled a little bit more expressive up high. Of the 3, he's definitely the softest over his forerib. I just want to make him handle with a bit more shape, because that's still a good balanced kind of sheep there that lands in 3. Congratulate those kiddos, if you would, please.
This will be last call, Class 3 Southdowns. Last call, Class 3 Southdowns. Results of Class 2 Southdowns. Third place, Asa Malik, Dripping Springs FFA. Second place, Megan Hernandez, Buda 4-H. And your class winner out of Class 2 Southdowns, J.W. Hernandez from Buda 4-H. We only have 2 entries in Class 3 Southdowns, ranging in weight from 153 to 154. On the completion of Class 3 Southdowns, we will entertain the Southdown Champion Drive. We'll have first and second place first out of Class 1, first and second place out of Class 1, first and second place out of Class 2, and these 2 out of Class 3. We need Morgan Hernandez, Ernest Brown back in the holding pen from Class 1 Southdowns. And we need J.W. Hernandez and Megan Hernandez back in the holding pen for Class 2 Southdowns to compete for the Champion Southdown Drive.
Another good pair. A young ladies class winner is really presented well, and he's got big shaggy legs, and I think that certainly helps him. But we break down the fundamentals, and that sheep comes in just really good in his neck attachment, level down his top line, and I like his function to his feet and legs. When we get around the ring, she gets him propped up, and I still think we get behind the sheep. There's just more to him all the way through. There's more rib shape, there's more hip shape. That sheep touches just a bit more aggressive in his shape up high than what we see in our second place weather. But a pair of good sheep really in terms of the top of their shoulder and their levelness from their back when the young lady gets this one set up from the side, he's still got a very neat look to him. He is probably just a little bit more tucked up in his chest floor than what we see in our class winner, but I still wish his flank was a bit softer to help his underline balance a little. We get him behind that sheep, and he just didn't handle quite as fresh up high, not quite as aggressive in his shape, but a good pair of them there. Congratulations to both those young ladies.
Results of Class 3 Southdown Lambs. Second place goes to Callie Jones from Dripping Springs FFA. And your class winner is Marley Dion from Johnson FFA. At this time, we will have our Southdown drive for Champion Southdown in reserve. This will be first call, Class 1 Fine Wolves. First call, Class 1 Fine Wolves. In the Southdown drive, out of Class 1, we have Morgan Hernandez winning the class. In Class 2, we have J.W. Hernandez winning the class. In Class 3, we have Marley Dion winning the class. Second place sheep, Class 1, belongs to Ernest Brown. Second place in Class 2, Megan Hernandez. And second place in Class 3 is Callie Jones. This will be second call for Fine Wool Class 1. We only have one class of fine wools, so the winner will be Champion Fine Wool, and second place will be Reserve Champion Fine Wool. Our champion Southdown belt buckle today is donated by Brian and Amy Embry. Our reserve champion Southdown buckle is donated by the Wimberley FFA alumni. We thank those folks so much for their sponsorship.
Good group of them that we had in our Southdowns. Out of that first class, I thought a good class winner that I really liked initially. We bring him back and start comparing him to the other sheep, and honestly, I like him even more. I think that sheep's good off either end of his skeleton, coming and going. He's just wide and true and square in how he uses everything. He balances still, I think, very appropriately from the side, although compared to a few others, he maybe does just get a little bit deeper in the lower third of his body, and we could tuck him up even more at the base of his chest floor. I think that's still a really nice sheep that won that class. One in second behind him is extra long and extended, just needs to have a little more width and muscle all the way through. Out of the middleweights, I thought a good pair of them there. Young Man's Weather on the front side. I like the back half of that one just a shot better, although his front half maybe isn't quite as extended, not quite as good at the point of his shoulder as what we saw in that ewe that was second. Young Lady's ewe lamb is really just beautiful and elegant up front, and I think her top line and underline both balance really appropriately. She handles a little softer to the touch for me than what the sheep do on this side of the lineup. Young Lady had that heavyweight class winner. That sheep's really big in his outline. He's really attractive in terms of his lines and his levelness. I wish relative to the first 2 class winners, we had just a little bit more shape. I wish we had just a little bit more width when we step right in behind him and look forward. I just think his pin set comes a shot narrower, his hock sits just a little bit narrower, but a sheep you really like here from the profile. One that's second to him, again, good in terms of his top line, his neck sets very attractively. Got to have a little more depth and softness back to his flank. Got to have a little more shape when we go in and handle him. The more we break it down and the more I go through it in my head, I think the young lady's lightweight needs to win and needs to win pretty convincingly. She'll be our champion, and the young man's middleweight here is going to be our reserve.
Your champion, Southdown, goes to Morgan Hernandez from Beautiful Race Club. Reserve champion goes to J.W. Hernandez from Beautiful Race Club. This will be second call, Class 1 Fine Wolves, second call, second call, Fine Wool Class 1. This will be last call, Class 1 Fine Wolves. Last call, Class 1 Fine Wolves. We have 3 entries in this class, ranging in weight from 117 pounds to 138 pounds. This will be first call, Class 1 Fine Wool Crosses. First call, Class 1 Fine Wool Crosses. This will be second call, Class 1 Fine Wool Crosses. Second call.
Three really nice fine wool sheep here, and I think there's some differences in type and kind and differences between them, but the one that hits me hardest initially, and I think is just the highest quality in his look and his build, is going to go ahead and lead out and start. Not only does that sheep come with just a little bit more stature and a little more size, but his extension up ahead of his shoulder, how level he is down his top line and how he maintains that when we ask him to get out and move is really incredible, I think, in this group. We put our hands on him. He's still big enough right in behind his shoulder. He's still got enough width and dimension when we step in behind him. In fact, all three of these fine wools, I'd say, are very big in their upper hip and very true as we go to the ground and they go away from you. And so with that said, let's land on one with a good look like that to go ahead and start. The 1 and 2, I can get behind propped up from the side. I love that that one runs uphill. Young lady does a great job presenting him. He's probably my favorite from a touch and texture to his muscle standpoint. I love that one's loin edge. He ties it into his hip extra smooth. For me, he just falls a little out of balance, especially in motion relative to our class winner. His top line, his hip, and how he uses his rear leg. It's still functional. It's just not quite as attractive in what we have up front. So I don't argue a switch there, but I think that's a good pair. Young man in 3 still has a really nice sheep. I think that one's very wide and very thick, and we put our hands on him, and that's certainly still the case. He still has enough length up ahead of his shoulder. He's still tall enough at the point of his shoulder. It's his top line and his underline balance that needs to be a little bit better for me, even standing still. We need to drop him down in his flank and make him run uphill just a little bit better. A good group of them, though, and my compliments to each of them for having 3 really nice sheep. Good job.
Your fine wool results. Third place, J.W. Hernandez, Buda 4-H. Second place and reserve champion fine wool, Megan McClellan, Dripping Springs FFA. And first place in your champion fine wool goes to Nicandro Quintanilla, San Marcos FFA. Congratulations. Will be third and final call for Class 1 fine wool crosses. Third and final call, Class 1 crosses. Presley Geeson, we need you at the check-in station. Order. Class 1 fine wool crosses has 4 entries, ranging in weight from 96 to 141. 96 to 141 pounds. Our champion fine wool belt buckle today was donated by Robin's Closet, Robin Rippy Scott. Robin's been a big supporter of the show for years. Thank you, Robin, for donating the champion fine wool buckle. The reserve champion fine wool buckle was donated by the Hudson family. Appreciate y'all's support. This will be first call, Class 2 fine wool crosses. First call, Class 2 fine wool crosses. This will be second call, Class 2 fine wool crosses. Second call, Class 2 fine wool crosses. This will be third call for Class 2 fine wool crosses. Third call, Class 2 fine wool crosses.
I think an interesting class of 4, and to me probably a top pair as much as anything, and sheep that are pretty different in terms of type and kind. We're going to elect to start one that's just got a lot more width up through his chest floor. He's way bigger over his rack shape, and his loin edge is the biggest relative to the rest of the group in this class. Young lady gets him propped up, and I think the front half of that sheep still balances pretty good. He's probably, for this size and weight, is getting just a little bit more mature about his head and his chest floor than maybe ideal, but still a sheep that's got a nice look and still runs uphill. Young lady in 2 has one a little fresher to his hide, a little fresh to his handle, especially over his loin edge. To me, that sheep just gets a little bit plainer in the lower third of his body. He doesn't want to get out and go and show himself off quite as good when we ask him to move. But I do like when we get right in behind him, although he's not as wide all the way through, I like that his hock stays just a little bit square than what we see in that first place weather. One coming in 3, and really 3 and 4. Those sheep are pretty similar, all very different in terms of size, but similar in how they're built and how they look from the profile. Both of them are sheared in tight, and I think that helps their handle. They both feel really shapely and aggressive to the touch. I like those things. This young man's ewe lamb here is super tall-shouldered and very long-necked. She's got to have more depth and more flank and more belly to help everything come together. I think relative to those first 2, she's just a little bit straighter off either end of her skeleton. Similar story here. This young lady's ewe lamb is just the smallest in terms of size and weight. She needs a little more time. She needs a little more width all the way through in order to help run with those first 3. A good class of them. Please congratulate those exhibitors.
Results of Class 1 fine wool crosses. 4th place, Prelsey Giesen, Wimberley FFA. 3rd place, Prelsey Giesen, Wimberley FFA. 2nd place, Sarah Lamb, Dripping Springs FFA. And your class winner, Megan McClellan, Dripping Springs FFA. Class 2 fine wool crosses should be ready to enter the ring. We have 5 entries in this class, ranging in weight from 146 to 166 pounds. We'll need the first and second place fine wool crosses back out of Class 1 to the holding pen for the champion drive. It's completion of this class.
I think a nice place to start in this second class here of the crosses. One up front isn't just presented the best from a look standpoint, but that one is the best. When we get in behind them and go to touching and handling things, I love that one's shape and expression up high. Young lady gets him propped up. He's not the wildest looking one through the front third of his body, but everything balances and proportions quite well. She does a good job putting him together. From a distance looking at him, I like the one in 2 next in terms of his just structure, his flexibility, and how everything's built and put together. He needs to handle better. When we put our hands on him and touch comparatively to the 2 on either side of him, he's got to have a bit more shape behind his shoulder. He needs to be fresher and bigger right over his loin edge. But I like his length and extension. I like his structure a good deal better than the one that lands in 3. Young lady's weather in 3rd is more similar to our class winner in terms of his width and his extra feature down low. He's really big in terms of his back shape as well. He gets too straight off either end of his skeleton. You can see he wants to get up just a little bit in terms of his spine. We need to relax him there and make him more comfortable off either end, and we could certainly slide him up a spot or 2. I think from the profile, young lady's weather in 4 is really attractive. I love his neck attachment, his shoulder, and just how level he is from there back. He's got to have more flank. He's got to have more width when we get behind him. He's got to have a little more muscle to run with the first 3 in this group, but he's presented well, he's shown well, and he's got a good look there from the profile. Similar story for the young lady in 5. That sheep's really big in his outline. He's big in his kind. He needs to have a little more width and a little more substance to go along with that. Super good and level down his top line and out of his hip. Just needs a little more twist when we step in behind him. Good class there. Please congratulate all those exhibitors.
This will be first call for Class 1 Dorpers. First call, Class 1 Dorpers. Results of Class 2 fine wool crosses. 5th place, Lexi Hatfield, Dripping Springs 4H, or FFA, I'm sorry. 4th place, Riley De Leon, Wimberley FFA. 3rd place, Bella Henry, Dripping Springs FFA. 2nd place, Cambry Fendyson, Dripping Springs FFA. And your class winner out of Class 2 fine wool crosses, Addison DeMarco, Dripping Springs FFA. We will now have our champion fine wool cross drive. We will have Megan McClellan out of Class 1 as the class winner, and Addison DeMarco out of Class 2 as the class winner. Second place out of Class 1 was Sarah Lamb, Dripping Springs FFA. And second place out of Class 2 was Cambry Findyson, Dripping Springs FFA. Your fine wool cross, champion fine wool cross buckle today is sponsored by Giesen Tile, and your reserve champion fine wool cross sponsored by Ben and Terry Brown. We thank them so much for their sponsorship. That's what makes these shows work so well.
I like our first and second place sheep, and I think out of that lightweight class, one that just fit together a little better balanced for me, right in behind his shoulder, how everything fits on his body is a little bit smoother, and yet still that sheep comes with more width and more substance right when we go and put our hands on him. One that's second to him, extra long bodied, I think still good in terms of his neck attachment, just needs to be a little bit more attractive, especially when we get out and go. And then I think out of that second class, one on the front line that suits me well, standing still in terms of his type and kind. I like how everything matches, and his feature down low is good. Up high, that one still handles incredibly well and very fresh to the touch, in addition to just being wide and dimensional all the way through. And I thought the young lady's second place weather was good from the outside in motion and from afar, and just how everything balances on his body. He needs to be a little bigger in his loin edge. He needs to be a little fresher in terms of his handle. My two favorites are on this side. Young lady with the heavyweight will be your champion. Young lady with the lightweight will be your reserve.
Your champion fine wool cross belongs to Addison DeMarco from Dripping Springs FFA. And your reserve champion out of Class 1 is Megan McClellan, Dripping Springs FFA. Congratulations. Be second call. Class 1 Dorpers. Second call, Class 1 Dorpers. We have 7 entries in Class 1 Dorper class, ranging in weight from 88 pounds to 116 pounds. This will be first call for Class 2 Dorpers. First call, Class 2 Dorpers. This will be second call, Class 2 Dorpers. Second call, Class 2 Dorpers.
I think a good way to get started with our Dorper breed here, and a class winner up on top. I think we need to find that one pretty quickly. He does the best job of combining extra shape and dimension, a great handle, and still a really balanced and very attractive look from the profile. We get out and move the Livestock, and that one still holds everything true and where it's supposed to. Everything stays square going away from you. An awful nice place to start. Young lady sheep in 2. I like propped standing still. He runs uphill. He's good in his neck attachment. He looks better to me standing than he does in motion. When we ask him to go, things just kind of fall apart just a little bit. Doesn't hold himself quite as collected as our class winner, and he's not quite as shapely and quite as dimensional as our class winner, but I still thought he was better over his loin edge and square from behind than the one in 3. Young lady's weather in 3rd is really big and bulky in the middle portion of his body. He's huge ended when we get him behind him. He's not quite as fresh over his loin edge. He's not quite as good in how he uses his rear leg when we go right away from you. Young man rounds out our top 4 with one that handles really good. I love this sheep's touch, and his expression of muscle up high is awesome. He read to me a little flatter in his forerib. We get him behind that sheep. He's not quite as overwhelming in terms of width and power. And probably my bigger issue is of the top 4, he's the deepest and heaviest through his chest floor. We want to correct his underlying balance just a little bit. A good class of them. Please congratulate all those exhibitors.
This will be last call, Class 2 Dorpers. Last call, Class 2 Dorpers. Class 2 Dorpers has 5 entries, ranging in weight from 118 to 123 pounds. Results of Class 1 Dorpers. 7th place, Heidi Bentley, Wimberley 4-H. 6th place, Savannah Scott, Dripping Springs 4-H. 5th place, Whitley Henry, Dripping Springs 4-H. 4th place, Lawson Henry, Dripping Springs 4-H. 3rd place, Brooke Daisy, Jack C. Hayes FFA. 2nd place, Caden Garcia, Buda 4-H Club. And your class winner, Brindley Davy, Buda 4-H. Class 2 Dorpers are entering the ring now. And this will be first call for Class 3 Dorpers. First call, Class 3 Dorpers. This will be second call, Class 3 Dorpers. Second call, Class 3 Dorpers.
A deep class of them here in your middleweights. Young man, turn that thing this way. Turn that way. There you go. I think one we need to go ahead and lead off with, just in terms of his width and dimension, his handling quality is incredible compared to the rest of the lineup. And I think that sheep still comes out the top side of his shoulder really attractively. He's very level down his top line. In motion, I think that sheep stays very true and collected. We could be picky on him when he goes right away from you. I'd like to square him up in his hock, but that's still a very good sheep. I think one that needs to start. Most similar to him, especially when we put our hands on him, is going to stay in second. And from the side, this sheep here really runs uphill to the top of his shoulder. He's really neat and attractive up through his chest floor. He's better out of his hip and better in how he uses his rear leg than the one that comes right behind him. Compared to our class winner, just not quite as much overall power, not quite as much mass, but still a very nice sheep. Young man has a really good touch and one that lands in 3. I love that ewe lambs just handle her expression of muscle. Everything's really shapely and very fresh. We need to make her a little more extended off either end of her skeleton. She's a little shorter fronted. She's a little shorter and steeper out of her hip. Love that one's touch, though, especially when we handle. The one coming in 4, I like this sheep's kind. I think he's loose and functional in terms of his build. He's got some body shape. He's still got some chest width up front. That sheep has to have more back shape relative to the first 3. And we could slide him up a spot or 2 because I think his kind is very useful. The one that lands in 5 is extra long bodied. She's really good necked. She's still very round about her forerib, but she's got to have a little more flank and a little better balance to her top line and out of her hip in order to move her up anymore. But a good class of them there. Congratulations.
This will be third and final call for Class 3 Dorpers. Third and final call, Class 3 Dorpers. Results of Class 2 Dorpers. 5th place, Heidi Bentley, Wimberley 4-H. 4th place, Alice Hutchison, Dripping Springs FFA. 3rd place, Hondo Young, Wimberley 4-H. 2nd place, Easton Davy, Buda 4-H. And your class winner, Easton Davy, Buda 4-H. Congratulations, winners. We'll see first and second back in the Champion Dorper Drive here shortly. Class 3 Dorpers has 6 entries, ranging in weight from 126 to 147 pounds.
a deep set of weathers here in our heavyweights, and one up front. Again, just to not sound too repetitive, but that one is the same things we've been looking at all day in terms of just width and body shape. His touch and handling quality is impeccable out here, and I think relative to the one right behind him, he's maybe not the tallest fronted or the most extended in his neck, and we could be critical on those things, but that sheep still balances plenty good enough for me, and I don't have one in here that's even close in terms of handling quality in order to argue a switch. I like the young man's weather in two for how long-bodied that one is. He's great necked. He's still proportional in his lower third. He has plenty of width and plenty of muscle. It's just not near as shapely as what we see in that class winner, not near as expressive, not near as good up high. One coming in three, when we're standing still and we get our leg around in front of him, he looks the part. I like that sheep so tall fronted and so tall shouldered, good necked. He still handles really good right behind his shoulder over his rack. His loin edge is starting to wash just a little relative to those first two, and he comes just a shot rounder out of his hip. But the bigger issue with that sheep is when we have to go and move him and get to walking him, his old shoulder and his lower chest just kind of fall out of him. Want to keep that tucked up and elevated a bit more. The one coming in four, I think the back half of that sheep balances really good. From his center body to his hip and down to his stifle and all the way to the ground, all of that is good. I wish we could make him stronger and leveler right behind his shoulder. I wish we could also elevate him right there at the base of his chest for a good class of sheep, though. Congratulate those kids if you would, please.
This will be first call, Class 1 medium wools. First call, Class 1 medium wools. Results of Class 3 Dorpers. Sixth place, Nathan Scott, Dripping Springs 4-H. Fifth place, Eli Bentley, Wimberley 4-H. Fourth place, Trent Henry, Dripping Springs 4-H. Third place, Brooke Daisy, Jack C. Hayes FFA. Second place, Holden Young, Wimberley 4-H. And your class winner out of Class 3 Dorpers, Kylie Davey, Buda 4-H. We'll now have the champion Dorper drive. We will have Brindley Davey out of Class 1. We will have Easton Davey out of Class 2. And we will have Kylie Davey out of Class 3 in contention for the champion Dorper. Reserve champion, or second place lambs out of these classes. Second place out of Class 1, Caden Garcia, Buda 4-H. Second place out of Class 2, Easton Davey, Buda 4-H. And second place out of Class 3, Holden Young, Wimberley 4-H. Looks as if it's the Davey Dorper show. We have Brindley out of Class 1, Easton out of Class 2, and Kylie out of Class 3. Be second call, Class 1 medium wools. Second call, Class 1 medium wools. Your champion Dorper buckle is presented today or sponsored today by Barbie Ranch, Shane Barbie. The reserve champion Dorper buckle is also sponsored by Barbie Ranch, Mr. Shane Barbie. We appreciate Shane helping us out with those Dorper buckles.
Really a competitive set of our Dorpers, and I think particularly in each class we had a few on the front end that were really high quality, and we get them back out here and start comparing the front line for sure, all similar in terms of their type and kind, and in each of their classes, I thought those really just handled the best when it came down to it and looked the part from the profile as well. Young ladies, initial class winner there out of the lightweights. One, we could be a little picky on him out here compared to the next two in terms of how deep he is right through the middle of his chest floor. We could pick him up in his underline a little bit there, and that would change the game for that sheep. But he's still extra good in his body shape, really big-ended when we get him behind him, still has a good neck attachment as well. One that was second to him, I still like that sheep's touch and expression really well. He's not quite as smooth everywhere, particularly in motion is what we saw in that class winner. Out of our middleweights, I think a good sheep. The front half of that sheep's probably my favorite of the lineup. I like that he's so elevated at the top side of his shoulder. He's so tucked up and neat about his chest floor. He's still very round-ribbed and very big-backed when we put our hands on him. He gets a little shorter out of his hip. He gets a little more pinched right in his hip loin relative to the two, I'd say, on either side of him, but that's a really nice sheep. The one that was second to him, not quite as wide all the way through to me, not quite as much just extras in terms of width and power, but a sheep that's got a great look when we get him propped up from the side. Out of our heavyweights, one that won that class, I think the back half of that sheep is really awesome in terms of his width progression, his body shape, and how big-ended he is, and yet still stays square and still stays secure in how he uses his hip and his rear leg. We were picking on him in class, that he's not just the tallest fronted or the longest necked one in the world, but I still think he balances and everything fits together really neatly. One that was second to him probably does have a shot more length and extension, just not as shapely, not quite as aggressive in terms of his handle. A really nice set of Dorpers. It's been fun to work through them. My favorite's that young lady's heavyweight. My second favorite is the young man's middleweight. Those are going to be your champion and reserve.
Champion Dorper belongs to Kylie Davey. Buda 4-H. Reserve champion goes to Easton Davey, Buda 4-H. Congratulations. We'll see y'all back in the grand drive. This will be third and final call for Class 1 medium bulls. Class 1 medium wolves has 8 entries, ranging in weight from 109 to 121. This will be first call, Class 2 medium wolves. First call, Class 2 medium wolves. This will be second call, Class 2 medium wolves. Second call, Class 2 medium wolves. The last call for Class 2 medium bulls.
Really a fun class, and I think a really unique top pair. Little differences between the two of them, and honestly, depending on how they're showing at any given point in time, I argue a flop in my mind. I think they're really close. The one that I think is just a bit more relaxed in the front skeleton that he has, and I think also couples that a bit bigger out of his pin set and more dimensional from behind, goes ahead to start. My biggest issue with that sheep and why he doesn't win convincingly is when he overdrives and his loin wants to break just a little bit, he just doesn't look as balanced in his top line. I love that he's so elevated up at the top side of his shoulder. Just want to keep that smoothness as we work all the way back into his hip. The 1 and 2, when she's showing correctly, I could definitely move her up. I love that sheep's body shape. I love her width and dimension. She's a little greener and not quite as far along in terms of her handle, but a sheep that is just so honest and true and handles incredibly well. With that said, her neck's not quite as long. Her shoulder and neck attachment isn't quite as unique in what we have in our class winner. And I think her shoulder's just a bit more forward in that regard, but a good pair of sheep and a fun pair to sort. 1 and 3, when we get her propped and standing still, young ladies, whether it's just a balance, everything fits together good. He too is just a little bit greener and not as far along. I think some finish would do him good to smooth everything up just a little bit, but I think underneath that, we just need to be a little bit sounder up front relative to those first two. That's still a very good sheep. The 1 and 4, I think, gets to this point because she's so wide and so thick and handles so well. Still handles her top line really good in motion. She's not quite perfect off either end, and I want to make her longer and more extended through the front third of her body. But her levelness of top line in combination with extra pin set and extra shape from behind goes ahead to keep her up here in the top 4. A competitive class of them there. Congratulations to all those exhibitors.
This will be third and final call for Class 2 medium bulls. Your results of Class 1 medium bulls. 8th place, Donovan Gonzalez, West San Marcos 4-H. 7th place, Jesse Medlock, Dripping Springs FFA. 6th place, Aubrey Chavez, Jack C. Hayes FFA. 5th place, Kylie Davey, Buda 4-H. 4th place, Riley Coco, West San Marcos 4-H. 3rd place, Aubrey Chavez, Jack C. Hayes High School, FFA. 2nd place, Everly Shumway, Dripping Springs 4-H. And your class winner from Dripping Springs 4-H, Quincy Raines. Class 2 has 9 entries in it, ranging in weight from 131 to 143. This will be first call for Class 3 medium bulls. First call, Class 3 medium bulls. This will be second call, Class 3 medium wools. Second call, Class 3 medium wools.
To be honest, I didn't really study too hard on our class winner. I think he needs to win pretty convincingly, so I have to take a little bit of a closer look at him when we bring him back out on the drive. I think that sheep's pretty good in his width. He's pretty good in his shape up high, and everything balances and fits together really neatly. I like that one to win this class pretty easily. The 1 and 2 is most similar to him in terms of just his handling quality, his length and extension down his top line. His sheep's not quite as good built in the front third of his body, and to me, he needs to be just a little smoother all the way through. I think a little more cover on him would help everything just blend and balance a little better, but that sheep is still really good and fresh up high. His height and his handle is what allows him to stay in too. Young lady's ewe lamb got classed out of the crosses, but still a very good sheep, and I think balances and proportions okay here from the side. Really, her biggest advantage is when we get in behind her. She's so wide and so square all the way to the ground. Tons of extras in dimension and mass and power. She's not quite as fresh over her forerib, as the two we have up high. She's not quite as fresh in her handle, not quite as fresh in her hide. But if we can make that sheep just a little fresher up high, we could certainly talk even more about her. The one that lands in 4, I think in motion, he just kind of wants to get a little up in his top line, a little tighter at the ground, standing still, and we get him propped up. I love that he runs uphill. His underline matches his top line. He still comes with some width and some density when we get him behind him. He's not quite as neat down all the way to the floor in terms of just his feature. He's not quite as unique and shallow through his chest floor, but a sheep that still got a lot of good to him in a competitive class. Congratulations to all these exhibitors.
This will be last call, Class 3 medium wools. Last call, Class 3 medium wools. Results of Class 2 medium wools. 9th place, Jose Soto, Buda 4-H. 8th place, Levi Diaz, West San Marcos 4-H. 7th place, Alice Woolery, Jack C. Hayes, FFA. 6th place, Eli Bentley, Wimberley 4-H. 5th place, Nicandro Quintanilla, San Marcos FFA. 4th place, Jonathan Reagan, Dripping Springs FFA. Excuse me. 3rd place, Marley Dion, Johnson FFA. 2nd place, Winston Rains, Dripping Springs 4-H. And your class winner from Dripping Springs 4-H, Quincy Rains. Class 3 medium wools will be entering the ring. We have 10 entries in Class 3, ranging in weight from 158 to 183. At the completion of Class 3, we will have the champion medium wool drive. We will need 1st and 2nd place lambs out of Class 1 and 2 medium wools, along with Class 3.
Quite literally, I would say this is the class I've been waiting for all day. I'm really excited to get to see them like this. Top 5 we're going to discuss that I think is really close, and they got a lot of give and take. And the more we study on them, honestly, I think it becomes a class winner up front, one that we need to start. For me, it's structural. I think that one's the best built as we ask him to go. He's not only wide and square coming and going away from you, but his angles to his skeleton from the profile still work like they're supposed to. His balance and his attractiveness from the side is like it's supposed to. To me, relative to the one right behind him, he's a little shallower through his chest floor. He's a little longer necked, and his underline balance is so much better in that regard. I also think that's a trimmer handling sheep who's just a little fresher right over his forerib. The 1 and 2 runs uphill and young lady gets him put together and standing still. I like the set to that one's hip and his hock, and in motion, my really only hang up with him is that he wants to get a little wonky and where he places it when he goes right away from you. If we could just keep this profile in motion all the way through, we could maybe argue a switch, but he's not as long necked. He's not as shallow through his chest. He needs a shot more flank, I think, to help him balance even better. And I didn't think he was as wide and square going away from you as what we see in our class winner. I typically don't ask what they weigh at this point in time because it doesn't really matter to me. The only reason I asked this top 5 is because I wanted to know how much lighter this guy was relative to the competition. And I think that's really my biggest issue with him. I wish he was bigger. More than anything, I wish he was in the class below. But with that said, I think this is the next best sheep in terms of balance and structure. His lines and symmetry are all incredibly good, and he still handles really fresh, really shapely, and just not as much width, not as much weight, not as much mass as what we see in those first 2, but I thought I was okay with the size difference there to get one that looks like that standing still and moves like he does in motion. The one coming in 4 is extra big-legged, really stout, featured down low, and I think that sheep's still round and elevated through his forerib and his chest. He's still dead level from the top side of his shoulder. We want to round out of his dock just a little bit relative to those first 3. I want to square him up there. And I think his hock and where he places it is just a little bit rounder and not quite as unique in how he uses his back leg. He too needs a shot more flank to help his underline balance. But a sheep I like a lot of things about when we get him stopped and standing still. Of the top 5, the widest and the stoutest stands in 5. If width and mass is your exclusive thing, he is your sheep, and you can run him all the way up to the front if you want to. For me, he runs downhill to the top side of his shoulder. He's too jammed up in terms of his neck, and he's too tight and restricted off either end of his skeleton. But one that still, for that size and weight, I'd say touches really good for a big heavyweight. Just want to make him more attractive. Good class of them, fun class to sort. Congratulations.
All right, we will now go into our champion medium wool drive. Results of class 3. 10th place, Levi Diaz, West San Marcos, 4H. 9th place, Paris Gonzalez, West San Marcos, 4H. 8th place, Lily Nauman, Buda, 4H. 7th place, Barrett Collins, Dripping Springs, 4H. 6th place, Aubrey Chavez, Jack C. Hayes, FFA. 5th place, Kellen Embry, Dripping Springs, FFA. 4th place, Megan Hernandez, Buda, 4H. 3rd place, Barrett Collins, Dripping Springs, 4H. 2nd place, Morgan Hernandez, Buda, 4H. And your class winner of Class 3 medium wools, Kellen Embry, Dripping Springs, FFA. We'll now go into our champion medium wool drive. At the completion of the medium wool drive, we will need all breed and reserve breed champions back to the holding pen for the grand champion drive. Out of Class 1 medium wools, we will have Quincy Raines, the winner of that class. Everly Shumway, Dripping Springs, 4H, second in Class 1. We had Quincy Raines, winner of Class 2, and second place, Winston Raines from Dripping Springs 4-H Club. And then out of Class 3, we had Kellen Embry winning the class and Morgan Hernandez second place in the class. Those are the exhibitors in the ring at this time. Our champion medium wool buckle today is donated by the Steinecke family. And the reserve champion medium wool is donated by the Backyard Cowboys Buyers Group.
Been a really competitive medium wool drive, and I think the whole sheep show was really competitive. I'm looking forward to our grand drive and our showmanships here in a minute. I thought out of the lightweight medium wool class, we sure had a nice pair of them, and although they're a little bit different, I thought those sheep were really high quality, each in their own right. One on the front line, I just love that one runs uphill so neat into the top of his shoulder. His neck attachment and his length and extension are better than the one that comes in two. With that said, if we can just keep him a little bit smoother in his hip loin and square him up in his dock just a little bit more, I think that sheep gets even better. He's an awful good looking one though, and I like that sheep in motion as well. One that's second to him, she's just a little shorter necked, a little lower tying right at the top of her shoulder. I want to correct those things about her, and I thought relative to our class winner, she wasn't quite as far along in terms of her handle, but a really nice ewe. I'd be really happy to own that one as well. Out of our middleweight class, I thought we had an easy class winner, honestly, and it boils down to it. Out here, I think he's probably the loosest and most comfortable in his lower joints. I like his top line in motion, and I think he's got just a little give to it because he's got so much give in his lower joints as well. I'm okay with that. I think when we get him propped up, he's still an attractive kind of sheep. He's still aggressive in his shape up high. I want to correct him just a little and blend his hip loin in smoother. I want to square him up in his dock set just a little bit as well. Young man that was second to him, got a good looking sheep there, just gets a little flatter in his forerib, not quite as comfortable in his front skeleton as we ask him to move. Had a super competitive heavyweight class, and out of that class I think we get two sheep that are really good in terms of their handle, awesome in their body shape. One on the front line, I think that one's just a little bit sounder. I prefer the set to his hip, his rear leg, and how he uses it in motion a good deal to the one that comes in two, and I think that sheep's really unique in terms of how attractive he is from the profile, to still be that wide constructed, that round bodied, have that kind of touch, and to be square as he goes away from you, I think is a unique trio there for that sheep. One that was second to him, if we could just make that one's depth of flank and underline balance a little bit better, if we can make that sheep a little square underneath as he goes right away or comes towards you, I think he'd get even better. But his handling quality, his presentation is incredible. He's shown very capably. A great set of them out here, honestly. It's been really fun to work through them. My favorite's young ladies heavyweight is going to be your champion. Young ladies middleweight will be your reserve.
Your champion fine medium wool goes to Kellen Embry from Dripping Springs FFA. Your reserve champion goes to Quincy Rains from Dripping Springs FFA. Congratulations. We'll see you back here shortly because we're going to move right into the Grand Champion Drive. We will need champions and reserve champions out of each breed. Back to the holding pens, please. Okay, back in the ring, we are going to need Southdown breed champion, Morgan Hernandez. Fine wool champion, Nicandro Quintanilla. Fine wool cross champion, Addison DeMarco. Dorper champion, Kylie Davey. Medium wool champion, Keller Embry. Following those, we will need reserve breed champion out of the Southdown division, J.W. Hernandez. Fine wool reserve breed champion, Megan McClellan. Fine wool cross reserve breed champion, Megan McClellan. Dorper reserve breed champion, Easton Davey. And medium wool reserve breed champion, Quincy Rains. At this time, they will be entering the ring, competing for the overall Grand Champion Lamb of the 2026 Hays County Stock Show. At the conclusion of the Grand Drive, we're going to take about a 15-minute break, and we will start with senior showmanship. I will give you a time as soon as we get through with the drive.
been a really fun sheep show, and I just want to say thank y'all for having me back. I enjoyed it last year, and it's been just as good this year, and I appreciate all the hospitality and just it's a great ran show. And so if you're in Hays County, don't take it for granted. You really do have a good setup here. You got a great group of people who are willing to go the extra mile and put it on and serve in their time and just their capacity. And so be grateful to each and every one of them. I hope that everybody gets all the support that they can gather in the sale on Saturday, and y'all don't freeze anything off. But I'm not going to be around for that. So just best of luck down the road if you're showing at majors and such. I hope everything works out for each and every one of you. Like we said in the goat show, my compliments to the exhibitors. They've been nothing but respectful, and I know there's times that you want to win and you don't end up reaching the goals that you set for yourself. And honestly, what you act, how you act and how you respond to that says just as much about your character as how you act when you win. And so I appreciate the set of them for just their how respectful they were to me and how respectful they were to each other in each of those moments. So we get back out here and we got a big set of them. I'm not going to go back through and discuss each and every one of them. I thought there was some highlights throughout the day and throughout the sheep show. Particularly, I think our medium wool breed was a highlight for me. Those are my two favorites. Those young ladies are going to be our champions. Good job.
Your grand champion lamb for the 2026 Hays County Livestock Expo is Miss Kellen Embry. Reserve grand champion is Quincy Raines, both from the Dripping Springs 4-H Club. We will start back with senior showmanship at 5:50. 5:50. If you are wanting pictures, you need to head over to the backdrop. Head over to the backdrop to get your pictures now, please. All right, this will be first call for senior showmanship. First call, senior showmanship. This will be second call, senior lamb showmanship. Second call, senior lamb showmanship. This will be last call, senior showmanship. Last call, senior showmanship. Please make your way to the gate and let's go. Our grand champion market lamb belt buckle today was sponsored by the Barbie Ranch. Shane Barbie, we appreciate that. Reserve champion market lamb was also sponsored by Barbie Ranch and Mr. Shane Rob Barbie. We appreciate their support and thank them very, very much for considering us. Our senior showmanship belt buckle is sponsored by the Balboa Memorial Foundation. Barbie did. Be first call for intermediate showmanship. First call for intermediate showmanship. Please be making your way to the ring.
I'm going to save myself a little bit of walking and a few steps here in our senior showmanship. We got a really good group of them, and honestly, I would say not a bad showman in the whole pile. I'm going to go through and tell you kind of my thoughts on them before we pick a champion, and instead of just walking to each kid directly, we're just going to start at the front and work our way back, okay? Young lady up front with the yellow, in the yellow, if you will, I think she does an excellent job of just understanding ring presence, where the judge is, where she needs to be in space. Obviously does a great job getting in front with her body positioning. I like how she holds that sheep's head and just commands a little more extra attention, if you will, out of his head and his ears. I want to see that sheep drive just a little bit harder. Most of the time when I look at him, I want him to be stretched out just a little bit more. It's very subtle, but it's just minor differences that I think come between a few really good showmen out here. I want to see his back come down a little, want to see him drive just a shot more. Young lady in the pink, very polished, very smooth out here today, and that sheep doesn't want to walk the best. And I like how you're trying to get them going without being too overly aggressive. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine when kids kind of lose their cool on one that's just not cooperating how they're supposed to. When we get them stopped, really good in terms of feet and leg placement. They're not just close or close enough. They're always on how they need to be. And so my compliments to you for paying attention to the fine details. I like how you get in front with your body. I like how you hold that sheep's head. My biggest hiccup today is just we got to walk better when it's time in showmanship. Young lady in the pink and the light pink here in the middle between the two young ladies in the dark pink, I just think she does an excellent job. Again, understanding the ring, knowing where the judge is. My biggest hiccup today is I want you to be a little bit faster. Typically when we're in this heat, in this competition, we got to be a little bit smoother and a little bit faster to get it all together and get it all looking right. I think that sheep could bounce forward just a little bit more and stretch her out a little bit more, and I think that would help her balance from the profile. Young lady in the dark pink here again, I kind of went off on her in goat showmanship earlier just a little bit, and I think it's well warranted. In terms of body positioning and controlling that sheep's head and neck, she's second to none out here. If you'll watch them walk, not only does that sheep walk really well and really appropriately, but just the grip she has on that thing's jaw makes a huge difference in how she looks in motion and how she looks from the profile. We're quick to fix anything that needs to be fixed, and she's always on point, always paying attention, knows what needs to be done. Young lady with the Dorper does a great job, and she showed a lot of sheep today, and I'm sure is getting really tired just like I am, but she was really consistent with each and every one of them, setting feet and legs, always making sure we're not overstretched or understretched. I like her body positioning, but I think we could even more so get a little more in front of them. That's just how I prefer to see them, and so I think we could twist your legs around in front just a little bit more. And with that sheep specifically, he is already just a little bit too wide from behind. I would like to see you set his hock and set his rear leg just a little bit square and not let him get quite so wide. Young lady in the red does a good job getting down low and getting a good brace out of that sheep, always handles really appropriately. For me, I think you overstretch her just a little bit. I'd like to keep her together a little bit more, and I think that would help her hip loin and just help everything blend just a little bit better. I'd like to see her not get quite so stretched. Young lady in the striped shirt, again, she did a great job today as well. I like her awareness around the ring, but she's not over the top in terms of just intensity. I like that you're relaxed and comfortable out here, especially in motion. Do a good job keeping the sheep moving how he's supposed to. Do a good job controlling his head and neck. Relative to the rest of them out here, I want to see you keep that sheep in line just a little bit better. I know that's a minor picky thing, but I want to see his butt at least level, if not out into the ring, just a little bit more than back towards the fence. That's being pretty picky. Young lady in the black sweater here that rounds out the group of them does an excellent job keeping that sheep rock back. He doesn't ever overdrive. He doesn't ever come too far forward. Does a good job of not overstretching him or understretching him. Again, on that sheep specifically, I think he's a little wide already. I'd like to keep him square underneath him and not set him quite so far outside himself from behind. Minor details, though. Really, I think it kind of comes down to one that just does the best job understanding her livestock and understanding what needs to be done and what needs to not be done and keeping it all together. Young lady here directly in front of me is going to be her champion. Please give her a round of applause.
This will be second call for intermediate showmanship. Second call, intermediate showmanship. The winner of your senior showmanship division, Morgan Hernandez. Morgan Hernandez from Beautiful H. Congratulations, Morgan. This will be the last call for intermediate showmanship. Last call, intermediate showmanship. Fixing to enter the ring. This will be first call for junior showmanship. First call, junior showmanship. Your intermediate showmanship buckle this afternoon is sponsored by Wimberley FFA alumni. We appreciate the Wimberley alumni sponsoring that buckle. We appreciate it. This will be second call, junior showmanship. Second call, junior showmanship. Make your way to the ring, please.
Again, a good competitive group of them. I'm just going to talk what I see differences wise. Young man in the pink here on the end, that sheep hates me apparently, and so I'm not going to get too close to him. But every time I get close, that thing tries to fly away. So we're going to stay back here and just discuss things. Man, when that young man is on and he is focused and paying attention, he is really good. He does a great job getting in front with his body positioning. That sheep fits him really well. Size and everything just works together really neatly. Occasionally, we got to bounce that sheep a little farther forward. We don't want to keep him too bunched up. And I think from time to time, we got to be a little more picky about where his back legs are. But other than that, I think that young man does a good job. Just got to keep paying attention. Doing good. Young man here with the Dorper right in front of me. When we get her legs set and assembled from the profile, she's got such a good look. And you do a great job lifting and getting all you can out of her head and her neck. I think your process is a little bit different than what I would do. You know, I would stop and bounce and go set back legs. You do it a little bit differently, but it comes together ideal. It comes together with a good look. From time to time, we just got to be a little bit more particular about where she sets her rear leg. She'll be a little off here, a little off there. You do a great job getting her head and neck up. I want to see it come back just a shot more. But young man here with the white Dorper in front of me, again, great body positioning. I like how he holds that sheep's head. He wants to suck away from you just a little bit, and I want to see him come up just a shot more. I want to see you lift up, and even neck forward from time to time would be better on him. And so just make sure he's extending up like he needs to and not kind of sucking back away from you. That's going to make a big difference on that sheep and how he looks from the profile. Young lady here in the blue sweater does a really good job in motion. I really love how she holds that sheep's head. She goes at a good pace and just keeps it all together. We get stopped and put together from the profile. We do need to be a little bit more particular about rear leg placement. And I think my biggest hiccup on this young lady is we need to keep that sheep's head in line. She's always looking off this way. I just want to see that sheep's head in line with the rest of her spine. And I think that's going to help her stand just a shot better on her front too as well. Young lady up at the front, I think knows her problems on her sheep and does a good job trying to show those things out of that guy. She makes him run uphill. She does a great job holding his head and neck. She's the best in terms of body positioning. For me, you go a little fast. I would tell you it's not a race, and none of them, no matter how sound they are, look better running than they do just walking. So I'd have you slow down just a little bit. But a great job to all of them. I've enjoyed working with them today. My favorite's the young lady up front. She'll be your champion. Please give her a big round of applause.
This will be third and final call for junior showmanship. Third and final call for junior showmanship. Your intermediate show person is Quincy Raines from Dripping Springs 4-H. Congratulations, Quincy. I did. All right, junior showmanship should be entering the ring. Our junior showmanship belt buckle today is sponsored by Balboa Memorial Foundation. This will be first call for Pee Wee showmanship. First call for Pee Wee showmanship.
really a fun set of our juniors here. And honestly, the best part of my day is just going through and getting to visit with each of them. They all have such personalities, and I like to just give them a hard time and enjoy them a little bit in showmanship. As we walk through and discuss things, there's one that probably has the easiest sheep to show for me in terms of just setting feet and legs where they're supposed to be. And as long as we're on point and we're paying attention and we're not letting that sheep relax too much, he pretty much always looks good. Young lady in the camo vest here is going to be our champion junior. Please give her a big round of applause.
Your champion junior showman is Brinley Davey. Congratulations, Brinley. This will be last call for Clover showmanship. Last call for Clover showmanship. I'm going to run my neck out on a limb right now, but I bet Miss Whitley Henry wins this Pee Wee showmanship. Any takers?
Definitely the best way to cap off our day here at the Sheep and Goat Show at Hays County. Awesome Pee Wee showman. She's done an excellent job. And earlier with a whole class full of them, she still did an excellent job. So even with no competition in Pee Wee showmanship, I know this is a tough little young lady and she's got a great heart. And just super proud of her and the job that she's done. She's very excited to be the champion Pee Wee Sheep Showman today. If you would give her a big round of applause.
Congratulations, Whitley. Good job. That concludes our 2026 Hays County Lamb Show. We thank you for being here. Hope to see you. There'll be a pig show tomorrow. There'll be a poultry show tomorrow. Cattle coming in. Cattle show Thursday.